Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning into the CloudNativeFM, another live episode for you from a very distant, far away galaxy from where you're learning Kubernetes, DevOps, AI, platform engineering, and a lot of new trends that really been emerging from concept to experimentation. So my name is Saim Sabdar, host of CloudNativeFM podcast. And today, once again, a topic I love about most, that is Kubernetes. A lot of engineering team is struggling with YAML all days, all long. And now the Kubernetes trend is now shifted toward abstraction, like where you click a button, parse, deployment, replica set, services, and ingress are ready to load on your browser. You can see the application live there. And today we are powering a new tool called KubeKanvas.io. We'll try to understand what new innovation is happening in that front. And without any further delay, let me go straight to Shamala Mahmood, who is a CEO of KubeKanvas.io. And I have some very good questions for her. So let me go straight and welcome her for the very first episode on a very first appearance on Cloud Native FM podcast. Shamala, you're now live. First of all, thank you very much for accepting my invite, and now you have been another guest of the Cloud Native FM. Over to you. Give us a brief introduction about yourself. And we met at Tech London Live, and today we will be finally to meet a very on this channel after a while. Over to you, Shamala.
Thank you, Saim, and I'm excited to be here at Cloud Native FM, my first live podcast. So, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And yeah, my name is Shamaila. I have been working in the software industry for last 25 years, and I feel I am from the previous century. Sounds like from the dinosaur age. But yeah, so far have enjoyed a lot this journey from I would say previous century JavaScript till AI. So have seen a lot, have gone through a lot, the Java hype and then JavaScript hype and then cloud platforms, public cloud, private cloud, and then Kubernetes, and now everything with AI, and a lot of things going on in the world. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, absolutely. And I think it's been a pleasure to meet you finally here. We saw you at the Tech London Live Week, and the live stream is also available in the channel as well. And that's my first time hearing about the CubeCanvas.io. Then I experiment with the tool, and I really love about the ideology. I really love about the features, and the tool set is actually integrated with it, because right now everybody is bombarded with the YAML. I think in Kubernetes, if you deploy, let's say, only front end and back end, you need to wrap that up in a pod then has a replica set then have the deployment object, and finally you have the services that then your front end being able to access from the outside of the world. In order to only access your front end, you need to write 4 YAML files. And if you have the backend, you have multiply by 4 again, then 8. If you have a database, might be the 12. You're already writing just for a very simple application, the 12 YAML files. And a lot of the companies and the tool set really try to move away from this usually bombardment of the YAML files. We have tools like Helm, we have tools like Customize, but now the Kubernetes projects in itself will have some visual project. So Shamala, tell us little about the history of the Cube Canvas. What are the problem you are initially solving that actually pushes you to actually create a new project that's called Cube Canvas?
Right. So it's a very good question, close to my heart. What happened, when I started working on Kubernetes around a decade ago, I really felt, that it was really well engineered, respectful product, I would say, from the engineering point of view. But I also noticed teams is struggling with the complexity that the beautiful engineering had. And like you said, YAML language is not very human friendly, I would say. You put some double quotes and it likes them. Sometimes you don't put double quotes and it likes not putting double quotes, and sometimes you are in between what I have to do and what not. And there are a lot of rules which doesn't make sense. You can't keep them in your head. This is the problem with YAML. And then Kubernetes offers lot of resources, lot of solutions for different types of deployments and different types of problems. When we start learning, we feel like it's a lot, we cannot keep it in the head. And then um, you make a small mistake and this becomes a big problem, sometimes not immediately visible. Your deployment is all green, everything going well. So this is something we noticed since the beginning. Companies is struggling, teams is struggling with the same problem over and over again. So I always thought that we need a better interface where instead of trying to solve these problems which shouldn't be the problem in the first step. So this is where people introduce me with different tools, but most of the tools, for example, Lens, Rancher, any other popular tool, they are cluster discoverability tool. They some of them, they call them, they are IDEs. But in my opinion, they let you discover the cluster, and you have to discover what is not working and why it is not working. So I kept thinking over and over again, what should we do? And then last year I worked for large bank here in Europe, and there we also had this type of Kubernetes deployments. They wanted to deploy different several testing, staging, feature environments, and they were all stuck in the same loop. So I decided to start working on the on what was in my head since several years. And this this is why I started KubeKanvas. It's a visual interface where you can instead of manually writing each and every line and then trying to debug, you just connect things, you drag and drop resources, for example, deployment and ingress or HTTP route. And this is how, yeah. So basically, you can simply go to the editor, and there you can connect things, and the code behind the scene gets written automatically. You can always modify the code, and you can also visually see what is not matching. One of the classic problem is we have a service, we have ingress, service, and then deployment. We have to set up the or configure the port everywhere, in the ingress, in the service, and in the deployment. Let's say in ingress it is 8080, in service it is 8080, and in the deployment it is 8081. You don't notice these things unless you discover. So you have to discover everything. With KubeKanvas, you can visually see that things are not well connected, or surveys cannot reach to the deployment even without deployment, without actually deploying it in the cluster. So this is one thing which basically solves the pain of writing YAML file. But this is just the beginning of what you will explore in KubeKanvas. Other, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think this is typically the huge problem for the DevOps engineering and the platform engineering team in general. So here's the screen I'm sharing. I hope everybody can see on the internet, on the YouTube as well. So this is the kubekanvas.io, and I'm on the feature set of the kubekanvas.io website. So I really like the integrated dashboard, because it's actually been one of the, they're solving a lot of the problem, as Shumala was describing, because in the Kubernetes there are hierarchies being everywhere. and very small engineering. Let's say I have been working with the Kubernetes for the last 7 years, but if I hire a Kubernetes engineer as an intern and he only knows Kubernetes in a 3-4 months, for them it's very difficult to understand where should I go to deploy my application, how the application has to be bundled. So I need some tool set, some features that I can actually use for my lower engineering team so they can able to be equipped and have a very higher rate of their feature set for the application. So Kubernetes takes a lot of time, a lot of the learning curve. So one of the things I really like about the tool sets, one, it's actually it generated the YAML file for you. You can download it, and then it can generate the workflow for you, like how the application is actually being servicing when you hit the application with the outside world. So the hierarchy of where the application is running, and in between the object that the Kubernetes has been created, they always have the flow of integration. So that's point I really like about it. And they have some wonderful enabled AI feature inside there, which Shimala will be describing in a few minutes as well. But Shimala, please tell us, without we going to the little bit integrated generate here, because we know, because one of my experience tell me what sort of the customers feedback so far for this tool. Is there anybody who's using in their production environment? What sort of the feature they actually told you they really like about it? So can you have some feedback on that?
Yeah, sure. So, couple of feedbacks that I loved so far. One of them is ability to encrypt secrets. So this is also one of the pain points, that Kubernetes secrets are encoded. Anyone can easily decode them. For example, if you commit them in your version control system, and you always have to, every developer who has access to your repo can copy them and encode them. So we have provided a sort of single click encryption, where you can encrypt your secrets using your private key. And the magic is that the private key is always in your computer. We don't have access to it. So this is also, something I really like. It makes it secure, 100%. And then if you have multiple teammates, everyone can have their own key pair, and we can encrypt using all of their keys. So this is one of the best features. Another is AI support in Kubernetes project. This is one of the another pain point. We copy the YAML, to start the code, and then we paste it. And whenever there is a problem, we again copy our source code and paste it in AI and ask it, okay, what is the problem here? So a lot of time we accidentally paste our secrets, and that's security hole. Everyone wants to avoid it, but there is no way. When you have a problem in production and you are a frustrated, nervous developer or DevOps guy, you just go there and try to do everything to get it resolved. So we have created in our interface, in our editor, we sanitize all the values, so AI never receives the correct value. And if you are using encryption, encryption is optional. If you want to use, you can enable it, otherwise you don't need to. If you are using encryption, this is also very good, but even with that, we always sanitize the value. So AI is integrated. You can start the project with AI. You can, instead of copy pasting and asking what is the problem, you can simply ask what is the problem in my diagram, or I have this error in the logs, what is the problem there? So you don't even need to copy paste. All the values get sanitized, and AI can actually read your configuration other than the secret values. These two are, I would say, winners. Another is immediately after you make a release, you can monitor your release. So the monitoring screen is very colorful. If you have worked in Kubernetes, you always work in terminal, black and white, and you need big glasses to figure out what is happening. So we have used color coding a lot. Anything, if you are describing a resource, you are looking at the YAML. If something is in error state, there are keywords like crash loop back off or status false, ready false. We are always highlighting it everywhere, not only in the release monitor, but everywhere. So these three are, I would say, top winners.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Because I think if anybody listening to your conversation, because I think these are the universal problem the Kubernetes have, and I think in order to find, I think everybody who's was able to hear the features that you've been describing, they will love to know more about that as well. But one thing, Shimala, can you speak a little bit about the how the flow of on the company side work? Usually, we see a lot of the open source project has some enterprise offering. In terms of the KubeKanvas, if let's say if I am a new company who wanted to be who wanted to adopt this KubeKanvas and give my developers this kind of tool, what sort of the onboarding I need to have? Like, is it free for everyone, or is this a paid offering? Can you describe a little bit about the onboarding workflow for the team, how they can actually create clusters in KubeKanvas, what the pricing tier they involve, and some of the roadmap you can describe to my viewers right now.
Okay. So in terms of pricing, we have generous free tier in which you can create 3 free projects. You can connect your clusters, you can deploy, you can use few credits of AI for free. So all the features, everything, including secret encryption, release monitor, cluster monitor, everything, is available in the free version. So you can easily try. You can give it to your teammates, and you can easily try. And once you are ready, we have then different tiers, for example, pro and team and enterprise. For Cloud Native FM, we have created a way so you can also try the free version pro version for free. And yeah, your viewers can, this was a surprise for you as well, right? So
Yes.
yeah, if you just send us an email, info@kubekanvas.io, with the subject, Cloud Native FM 2026 in the subject line, you will get a 3-month free pro version as well. So yeah, this is the pricing model, right? What else you asked? Sorry.
Awesome. Thank you very much. First, thank you very much for giving our viewers so you can actually play that out for the enterprise feature set as well. So I will include the information in the description so people can reach out to you, provide feedback, and a lot of these kind of stuff. So thank you very much for our viewers giving them some the pro subscription for a few months. That would be really nice to have it. Another question for you, Shumaila, is what is in the roadmap as of now? We are in August of 2026, and anybody listening to the Cloud Native FM right now might be the listening after a few months. They wanted to hear what is next in the pipeline in terms of the KubeKanvas, so they can actually be excited for.
Right. So we were listening to customers' feedbacks and problems as well. And one of the problem I keep getting over and over again is that user want to test their configuration in a development environment. And getting a cluster for the development environment was always a problem. Mostly you have to purchase, and then whenever you want to launch a cluster, again purchase. And if we talk about big cloud, for example, AWS, we have minimum we have to spend $72 per month for an empty cluster. And so this is like an overhead. I was working very hard to find out a way how we can allow our customers to deploy their configuration and test their configuration in a testing environment, just testing cluster. And this feature is gonna be live soon. And our initial around 100 customer, we are going to give free credits for the Kubernetes cluster. So you will create your configuration, you'll just click on a plus button, launch a cluster in less than a minute, deploy, test, and maybe share the link with your teammates and get feedbacks. And then when you are done, you actually don't need to do anything. When your cluster is not doing anything and you have configured that an idle cluster can be deleted, it will get deleted automatically. You don't need to do anything. So this is one of the most important features. Another problem, a couple of customers mentioned, is that they had to maintain two tools. One is cluster management or cluster observability and monitoring tools, and like Lens, I shouldn't say observability or monitoring. It's basically a discovery tool. So we have now started adding capability to discover the cluster. Right now we are dividing Kubernetes workloads in form of projects, just like you develop your software projects. So Kubernetes configurations are in the form of projects. Now your developers will have access only to these resources which are part of the project, but sometimes they need to look outside of the project. For example, in another namespace, what is there in another namespace, or is that particular service working, is my database working? So we have also started adding capabilities to discover the cluster as well. So I am really excited about these two.
Oh, wonderful! Absolutely, that's a very, very great feature set as well. So I think it's all everybody who is listening to Shimala is you can actually go directly to the kubekanvas.io and being able to familiarize with the project first. And then what the next wave is coming is even far more interesting than what actually been available right now today. So one other question, Shimala, and I will go directly sharing my screen in a minute. You have template in your website for the cube canvas. Can you briefly tell about what the template is, what is templating done, what it is for, and how we can anybody if they go to the website, see the template, how can they can use that template to get started with their own project? So over to you now.
Okay. So templates are basically those configurations which people commonly use or they want to deploy. For example, there are multiple CMSs, content management systems, Strapi, and I think payload directors. There are some, and WordPress are most favorite. So these are things that people deploy a lot. And then we have databases, MySQL and PostgreSQL, some analytics tool, for example, Victoria Matrix. These days is becoming very popular. So we just go there, choose a template, and then you copy it into your workspace. So now this is your workspace where you can see things in action, and you can simply deploy it. And for deployment, you need a local cluster, for example, Docker desktop or Minikube. Or if you have a cluster on cloud, you can connect that as well. You need KubeKanvas CLI, and you can easily deploy it. So here you can see we have leftmost we have an ingress, and then we have a couple of services. Yeah, these are all the resources that you can add. And then we have also a plain YAML if you want to modify the YAML.
Oh,
Right.
good. And I think you also have the feature so people can actually create or enable template or download the version of it. So that's very great because a lot of the tool setting is actually being YAML based. Shivana, is anything else will be we see in the near future that will be integrated in here, like other tools like there's in a Kubernetes, there's a there's a sea of tooling out there. Like we have policy engine for Kyverno, we have Argo CD with Argo CD and Flux for GitHub, with Istio, service meshes. There's a lot out there. Is there any particular project you have been really investing heavily so KubeKanvas can be integrated with that?
Right. So one thing is we are extremely standard based, and we have not invented anything new. So it's all standard Kubernetes and YAML, and we are heavily supporting Helm. So you can create Helm variables and you can use them. Now, your question, are we going to support anything else? So basically, it is all automatically supported. If you want to use any custom resources, you can add them. You can also add your Helm in the diagram. So these are all automatically supported. For network policies, we have a really nice integration, but with the standard network policies, we can simply create network policies, and you will be able to visually see which resources are really reachable, right? So now, if we come to the Argo CD, it is also automatically supported. Now, if you want to integrate your deployments, your releases with Argo CD, you will have Argo CD deployed in your cluster. And because we are creating Helm release, always creating Helm release, we have a Helm registry. You can create a token for the Helm registry, and you can integrate it in your Argo CD. So whenever there is a new Helm release, Argo CD can deploy it. Similar for other CI/CD tools. Now, can you install Argo CD using KubeKanvas? Yes, you can install any CRD, anything using, which can be described using YAML. It can be deployed.
Oh, awesome, wonderful. So I think these template we can see it will be growing all the time. That's a very good way. Let's say if you want to work on any new project, like you deploy MongoDB. So here's a template for you. You can actually use that template and start working on the project, because as I already told you, in a Kubernetes, any project take a considerable amount of time being able to understand what's the intricacies happening behind the scene. So it's been complex. The objects have been flying all the time. There always been the chance the new objects been created. So having a template and having a visual template really eases the workflow. And number two, developers can speed up the deployment on the AI, unprecedented AI time. So I think these templates are wonderful way to work out as well. I will be definitely exploring on my free time what's how I can use that template in some of my real world project. But I think it's been a very, very, very useful case to actually start working from the template base and then actually enhance the functionality. As we see in the integrated terminal, I love the workflow because sometime some organization told you, oh, here's your application deployed. What actually have you been deployed? So I create infrastructure diagram or the application workflow engine myself. Now I can drag and drop these objects, and then I can create the YAML file. I can play with the Helms engine, and I can create a release pipeline. What else do you need? I think it's a very, very useful project to have been integrated in your workflow, because that's you actually care a lot about more. Being able to deploy my application on Kubernetes, generate YAML file, and then create a release pipeline for that project as well. So one other project, and then I will be wrap up the conversation, Shamala. How can I can integrate this project with some of my cloud clusters, specifically on the EKS, AKS, or GKE? Is there anything new I can do it, or just simply integrate the cluster on the cloud and I can do this exactly the same what I've been doing locally.
Right. So we have also developed a command line interface called KubeKanvas CLI. You have to download it, and you have to log in into the CLI, and then you can configure as many clusters as you want. And it works almost the same as kubectl or other tools like AWS CLI or kubectl. You just configure and allow KubeKanvas CLI to use or to connect to these clusters. And now this is also interesting that it works similarly to kubectl, right? So we don't get any access to the cluster. The access remains inside your computer, inside your CLI, and you make the commands through the browser, and the commands run locally in your local machine. So yes, you can connect to any cluster, EKS or AKS or any other self-managed or managed whatever cluster you have. Normally you use kubeconfig file to connect to your cluster. You will have to give access to this kubecanvas kubeconfig file to RCLI as well. So this is how it works.
Oh, awesome. That's very good. That's a very neat workflow then. So you can install the kubectl KubeCanvas version from here in the kubecanvas.io docs CLI installation, and you can download it from your own personal version of the command line, and then you start working from there. So it's a very neat set as well. And I think you have, if you go to the resources, you can actually see how you can the cube canvas work itself. So it's a very good explanation of everything just described by the Shimala on the podcast as well. So I think that's I like about the most of the functionality. I play around locally with the clusters before the podcast, so I'm happy how the project is initiated and how much of the it's move away my frustration with Kubernetes and management with Kubernetes. So I really love the workflow, and I see Kubernetes is been going as a phase of being able to, you can interact from the interface rather than you doing stuff locally or handcrafted, because we have engineers who love playing with clusters, but we have engineers that need Kubernetes in a one-click installer, a visual dashboard. You can ask question. We live in an AI agent era where we need these kind of functionality, because I know work going forward with the AI agentic wave. All of these cluster might be created by some agent, and you don't know what's happening, who does this. And having a visually appealing dashboard is really a remediation for or the diagnostic problem for all of you. I hope to see more feature in the Cube Canvas, Mike. We can again debug issues. I can actually remediate some of the stuff. I can add policies. I can deploy cluster on the GitHub side. But I think whatever feeling we can do it on the Cube Canvas is been far more beneficial for that. So before I leave the conversation here, anybody has any questions on the Cube Canvas, you can directly connect with Shamala on the LinkedIn, and some of the other material we actually you can actually see on the podcast YouTube description. You can go into the kubecanvas.io, cube KANVAS.io. You can play around with it. You can use template to start working with the project, get the glimpse of how the project is working, extend the template, and then release the pipeline. And that's all you need for the project, from the experiment to practice or the implementation phase. So I really like the project, and thank you very much, Shimala, for accepting the invite and appearing on my YouTube channel for the very first time. I will keep you busy because Cube Canvas has a lot of the other feature. We can have a detailed podcast on that. Hopefully, spend more time in the near future, or I can catch you up in another kind of live stream when we do cover KubeCon NA or KubeCon EU or some of the conference. We happen to be colliding with each other or overlapping with each other in terms of the time zone we have. So any key takeaways or any final suggestion for you for my viewers, Shumala? Then we wrap up the discussion. Over to you now.
Thank you. So I would say stop wasting your time in this AI era and start using such smart tools. Now we don't have time to just keep learning every new tool, every new Kubernetes tool and technologies. So give it a try, and I'm sure you will be impressed. You'll save a lot of time and a lot of frustration, especially when your project will go into the production.
Absolutely, 100%. And in this episode of Cloud Native FM, we covered KubeKanvas, how it's transforming Kubernetes management rather than through an AI assisted or AI first visual development experience, rather than simply playing with YAML. KubeKanvas combine visual design, AI assisted infrastructure creation, security validation, deployment, and troubleshooting into a unified workflow that's I really like about most. It's integrated with AI assistant. Kaygent act as an engineering copilot that helps platform teams create, validate, deploy, and debug Kubernetes workload by keeping engineers full control through approval and undo capabilities. If that's like resonated for your next project, start experimenting with KubeKanvas. And if you got to any question, feel free to reach out to my guest Shimala Mahmood on LinkedIn or other places as well. And if you have any question on future episode, what will we cover? Feel free to put that on the comment. I will try my best to find the tool of some of the founder of that tool or the team about the tool that have been working or wanted me to cover in the next episode. That's up to you. So please keep telling us how we can actually enhance the podcast that really works well for you. So keep then, have a wonderful day, stay happy, stay blessed. We'll be meeting you again in a future episode of Cloud Native FM. Stay then, bye bye, and everyone.
Thank you. Bye.